Think about a world where classism is not an issue, where xenophobia is not an issue. So far, the only struggle that we have seen Carol have to deal with is her own internal conflict. But every example that those other people give at that table is something that is larger than just them. It predates them. Her inability to see the world that way was frustrating. Because it's like, Carol, I know you're not quote unquote wrong. And I think I would obviously align more with you. Just pause for a second, though.
I don't know if she's fully grasping like how much of a Karen she's being. That concept of like every man for themselves, you know, pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, etc., etc., etc. There is no way for you to actually do this life completely on your own.
Yeah.
She so badly wants to not lean on them, but she cannot, right? Like there is actually no feasible way for you to exist on your own. Crazy Stupid Podcast.
Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time watching, we'd love it if you could hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell so that you are aware of when we post things.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Crazy Stupid Podcast. My name is Esther.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we're going to talk about Pluribus Season 1, Episode 3. Our girl Carol, okay, in the words of Haley Williams, she is in the business of misery, okay? She is determined to not enjoy things. Now, I will say as an aside, me personally, an ice hotel, don't think that one's for me. What Helen says to her this episode, essentially, like, you know, you love misery, like you should love this because you hate it so much.
Yeah.
It's just really, really helpful because it explains how Carol is so resistant to not just the idea of like this, you know, hive mind thing that they got going on, but all of the conveniences that it provides.
Yes.
She is determined not to enjoy it. And you can see how that stubbornness like predates this.
Yes, 100%. Listen, man, Bree is doing a very good job at portraying Carol in this show because she is giving some real Karen vibes.
I don't know. I think I'm not being quite as harsh on her. I mean, for one thing, there is nothing else for her to do and there is no one else for her to call.
I would feel that way if we were not consistently getting flashbacks of nothing changing.
I think what's happening is she is grieving, and this is a world where there is no space for her grief.
Why not?
Because it's this perfect utopia, and the death was part of this larger thing. Like they don't really allow. It's like they're not acknowledging the loss.
I felt like when Carol's going on her little rant, Zosha brings up that memory intentionally.
Yeah, but you see, you can't do that. I understand why Carol doesn't want them to do that.
Yeah, I get that.
I feel like it's like the cost of this perfect world was your person, like the person that you love the most in the world, maybe your only person in the world. Mm-hmm. And so while everybody else is relishing in the perfection of this place, all you can think about is what it cost you. And nobody else really acknowledges that cost in a real way. I feel like they kind of showed us that, like when they show them with the bodies, like when they go, they show like there's clips of them just like, going around and picking up all the dead bodies. And as far as we can see, there's nothing ceremonial to it. There's nothing, right? It's just like it's just what it is. It's just how it had to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like with all of that happening, I can understand why it's like she's the only person grieving, but there's so many people were lost, but she's the only person sitting with it at all.
The other thing that I don't like is what they described it as, like a biological imperative. Mm-hmm. When she asked them like, how much longer why do they have to change her? I guess is what I'm like, that feels icky. Out of all of this thing that they keep trying to, the selling points that they keep trying to give her, you're going to continue to lose her when you make it seem as though at some point we're going to have to do this against your will.
But I'm taking that phrasing literally. I'm taking that phrasing as literally like we can't help it. Like it's like evolution. We are bound to do this.
Whatever novelty that the hive has, it wears off every time I'm reminded that at some point you're going to do this against her will.
Oh yeah, it's definitely twisted, but I think it is in alignment with like their inability to harm, etc. It's like they think allowing in their worldview, allowing her to stay outside of the hive is harm.
What they describe it as someone drowning.
Yeah. To me, everything that's going on with her, the way that she's treating them, how she's interacting, all of that. Well, at least I have other thoughts in it, but I do think a large part of it is like, how do you grieve in a situation like this?
Sure. This sort of ties back into what happened last week and how there was such a disconnect with how Carol was processing this, with how everyone else at that table was processing it. And I feel like everything that we're seeing in this show right now is like really intentional, including the people that were cast in that scene, right? Carol is the only white person there. And she's a rich white woman where so far the only struggle that we have seen Carol have to deal with in Pluribus is her own internal conflict, right? Whatever insecurities she's having, like she keeps asking, like, what rank am I in the bestseller list, right? Or like she changes the gender of the love interest in one of her books out of fear that maybe it wouldn't sell or maybe it wouldn't come across as well, whatever reasons. That is a very personal, borderline like individual conflict, right? You deal with this and then she probably thinks she would be content in life. But every example that those other people give at that table is something that is larger than just them. It predates them, right? I feel like Carol couldn't understand the appeal for those groups of people. Like, could you understand, like, just maybe take a pause for a second, like put your whiteness down just for a second and just think about a world where classism is not an issue, where xenophobia is not an issue. None of those things have to ever deal with her. And I feel like when they try to convey it, whenever they try to attempt to like say like, hey, I understand what you're saying, but I am finding like a legitimate sense of relief in knowing that all of these things that me, my family, people that looked like me, that lived and grew up like me had to deal with on a consistent basis, never have to deal with it. And I felt like her inability to see the world that way was frustrating. Because it's like, Carol, I know you're not like quote unquote wrong. And I think I would obviously align more with you. Just pause for a second though. And I feel like that was something, even after they expressed their thoughts, she still was like, what are we going to do about it? It's like, are you listening to what they're saying? Mm-hmm. No one's on board.
In connection to what you were saying about like her going to them every time that she's inconvenienced. The interesting thing about it is like, in her mind, I don't think that she is thinking about it as like, I'm being inconvenienced and now I'm going to go and call on them. She does not like the convenience that they provide. And so she is trying her damnedest to not be dependent on them. Like she is trying to refuse their help every step of the way. But it's like, she is forced into this community. Like it is impossible for her to be completely independent.
Yeah.
And so every single time that she tries to enforce her own independence, she just becomes more dependent on them in some other way. Like she refuses the meal that they bring to her. Then she goes to the grocery store like, I'm going to get my own food. I don't need you guys. And then come to find out, I don't have a grocery store.
Yeah.
And then ends up using way more of their help than she would have because now all of these people are stocking an entire grocery store just so that she can feel like she is doing things on her own. And I don't know, it's like the show has so many themes about like, you know, individualism and communalism. And I just feel like that concept of like people feeling like normalcy and having things the way that they are and like everybody's, you know, every man for themselves, you know, pick yourself up by your own bootstraps, etc. Like all the while ignoring all the ways that you are already dependent on people.
Yes.
Like there is no way for you to actually do this life completely on your own.
Yeah.
And so just seeing it in this very exaggerated way with the situation that Carol is in, where it's like she so badly wants to not lean on them, but she cannot. You're the only person in the country. Right? Like there is actually no feasible way for you to exist on your own. And it's hard because I understand why she's rejecting it so hard, because I get it. It does feel really icky and gross,
invasive,
to engage with this, knowing that it goes against her own ethics and morals so deeply, and knowing what it costs her personally with the death of Helen. I understand why she like refuses to just like give in to the parts of this that she just simply cannot change. But watching the way it plays out is like ironic every time, it's like there's even the thing with like the girl flying the plane in the last episode and her being like what, like you got this girl flying this plane. So then like for her own sense of normalcy, they go and they find pilots to do it. But it's like, this is still them doing something in service of you. Yeah. And she's trying in all these ways, like, she refuses to go sit in first class, and she like refuses the nice meal that they bring to her, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like she's not, I don't know if she's fully grasping like how much of a Karen she's being, like how much she is actually demanding of them, and how much she does inconvenience them for her own convenience, because she thinks in her head that she's doing something different. Yeah.
The part that I found so fascinating in this episode is when Carol is talking about the grenade. It's almost like she, based off of what happened, the smart thing would be to assume that you should not trust me with a grenade or with any weapon. And she's like, all right, well, what about a tank or a machine gun or an atomic bomb? And they're like, well, yes, we'd eventually have to. She finds that so absurd. It's almost like Vince is really like pushing us to think like this is what individualism can look like if you go like too far on the other end of the spectrum here, right? With this idea of like, if you are not thinking about the other person, then you might not also be thinking about like how your actions left unchecked could harm other people or other groups of people. Right. Because it's like she understands that. She understands that like there should be limits. There should be regulations on these things because we can't trust ourselves with them. I remember it's absurd, but obviously he's a conservative podcaster. You probably know Tim Pool, but he does this thing where he's like, there should be zero. You're not missing out on not knowing who he is, by the way. Sometimes I just have to know who these people are just because of my line of work. But he's like, there should be zero regulations on any weapons, guns, tanks, machine guns. He literally is naming them off. And the other person on the end is like, what are you talking about? Like he couldn't even understand this idea of like, at some point there still should be a moment where common sense should kick in, despite what your own like worldviews are. Right. Similar conversations that I saw people have, that same thing with like public schools just should not exist. It's like, okay, well then who is going to protect us from ourselves? Right. That has to be a question that comes up. That has to be in your equation about not just free will, but agency and individualism. There has to be a guiding principle there to make sure that it's not just yourself, but community and safety is part of the equation.
What I'm realizing as you're saying that is that what the Hive is practicing is not actually communalism in its purest form, because communalism focuses on the betterment of the community. Yeah. Right? It's saying we do what is best for the community, and that does include putting limits on other people's behavior, but in so do you also put limit on your own behavior, right? It's an agreement like, okay, we're going to give up certain freedoms for the betterment of all of us, for our safety, for our well-being, etc. Yeah. But you see, what's happening with the Hive, at least right now, is that everything that they are doing is in service of the people who are immune. In a way, it's like hyper individualism. It's like, yes, like they exist in some form of communalism, obviously, because there is no individual, but in their interactions with the people who are immune, it's hyper individualism. It's like anything that this person needs, anything that this person wants, no matter what, right? Like what we saw with that man, I can't remember his name. What we saw with the guy in episode 2 with like him getting all the ladies, you know, and now with the, you know, the hypothetical situation, but then also the very real situation with the grenade, with Carol. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, actually this isn't communalism, because communalism has to have barriers. It has to have boundaries to protect the community. They have no real interest in self-preservation.
Well, this is what I was thinking. As long as people that are outside of the hive, no one is completely safe.
Yeah, the utopia that they've created is completely dependent on these immune people being good people.
Right, because if all 5 of those people were like, I want to end this all, give me an atomic bomb, life
on Earth is done.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like it's tricky with Carol, because I understand what you're saying, but she is also not well. She's popping pills. She's drinking all the time, understandably so.
They could have told her, FYI, that's a real grenade. I feel like she's applying like her own logic. She's like, logically, this wouldn't make sense. There's just no way. Yeah.
Yes.
There's just no way. I think she has not fully adapted, and part of that is her own fault, because she doesn't truly like listen to them. She doesn't truly try to understand what's happening with them. But because of that, I don't think she's really truly adapted her thinking to like the new rules, right? Because like in any other scenario, your friend shows up at your house with a grenade, you're like, this is a fake grenade, I'm gonna pull this now because this is not like that's logical to think that, you know.
Yeah,
I feel like it's just that she's not there yet. She's not fully understanding their ideology yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so a couple of comments, which I have to say, you know, people in the comments are always like, man, I'm so glad you guys are watching the show. I read the comments and I'm like, I'm so glad you guys are watching the show.
Yo, that's a fact.
I've been reading like, wow, thanks for that.
I remember in Severance when that happened, I was like, damn, that's a really good point. Like often.
Thank you so much. This is a comment from K Sweets 23. So the comment is kind of long, but they essentially start off talking about how they believe in pantheism. And so they believe like God exists in all beings. And so they don't have a strong sense of individuality. They always feel like they are an extension of something larger than themselves. And they even say, like, when they talk about Helen's memories being a part of the hive, for them, they're like, that doesn't make me feel like she's truly dead or truly gone, because everything that made her still exists in the world. Okay.
Yeah.
But then they say this, they say that all that being said, I too feel that something is being lost. And I think it's the human experience, privacy, intimacy, romance, art.
Yes.
All of them are about the connection between the observer and the observed. When everyone has everyone else's memories, what's lost is the secrecy, the intimacy, the selectiveness of who you get to share your life with.
Yeah.
I think that's such a good thought. And I think that explains a lot about why Carol is so adamant about them not bringing up things that they only know because of Helen. Because it removes, like this person is saying, the intimacy of those experiences, the things that were just for Carol and Helen, the things that only the two of us saw. Everybody in the world has access to this now.
Yeah.
And yes, there is something about that is like extremely intrusive and also like strips it of some of its meaning.
Carol is saying like these were memories that we exclusively decided to have amongst ourselves. And now we don't have access to that anymore. Like we talked a little bit about this in our last episode of like, pursuing a relationship is not only something that requires agency, it requires consent. It also requires what this commenter said about that human experience that no longer exists, right? Art doesn't really exist anymore, because art in of itself is like, I'm trying to express something that I feel like is relatively unique. But if everyone's thinking the same thing, if everyone has the same feelings, have the same thoughts all the day, like how can art even be created anymore?
No, I think the second that everybody's a part of the hive, I think discovery is dead.
That's what it is. Yes.
It's done because everybody knows everything.
Yeah.
everything that there is to know is known.
Right.
And so now what? This is from Ethan Buttimer 6438. They said, my take on the question of what is lost would be human relationships and the beautiful, messy stories they produce. When humans or groups of humans interact with one another, things may get ugly, yes. But it's only through conflict, the struggle to understand one another, that we're pushed to innovate and express ourselves. Once Carol and the others are assimilated, the hive mind is all alone on planet Earth. And then what? No speech, no art. The human condition as we know it is over. Just look at the dialogue-free opening of episode 2 to see what I mean. And then they said this echoes a lot of the concerns that they have with us giving our creative capacity over to AI.
Oh.
But, yeah, I know. But I hadn't even thought about that. I'm like, oh, yeah. Like the only actual meaningful interaction happening right now is between the people who are not in the hive and the people who are in it.
Yep. Precisely.
And so, yeah, once that's done, what happens? Everybody is just going through the motions of life.
Yeah.
Even now, I honestly wonder, like, what are they doing? Like, the other people that are not like the Zoshas who are like assigned to a person or who like are the family members of that person. Like, what are the other people doing? Like the DHL guy who's in the dock, like what you know what I mean? It's like, are you just going about your routine as you would have before? Are you still working the Applebee's girl? Like you still working at Applebee's and they pluck you from Applebee's and have you fly the plane? Like how do you guys actually spend your day, your time? And it seems to me that it's just whatever's duty needs to be fulfilled for this thing. But like, other than that, there is nothing to it. And so once everybody is a part of the hive, then what?
Well, this is kind of what I like what the commenter said. Like this is precisely what people are fearful that AI will do, because they're not just coming after, you know, the economy and jobs. Bro, we're seeing people try to create movies and TV shows and music, like Timbaland signed that one AI artist. So now you are taking away some of the pillars of our human experience and how we express ourselves. So not only are they coming for the jobs, but they're coming from the parts that we were told we would have more time to pursue in. So now if that's all sort of taken away, what are we here for? Like what is the purpose for all of this? Like to really sit and think through that. Yeah, I think they're spot on.
Yeah. There was another comment somewhere. I wish I had screenshot. I don't know, but they think that Carol's tantrums shake people out because they only discovered that new guy after one of her tantrums. So that's their theory. Now the thing about that is
there's some merit to that.
Thing about that is that means it costs millions of lives for one person.
I'm glad you say that because I was dead ass about to be like, bro, just go out and just start yelling at niggas. Don't do that.
11 million people.
Don't do that. Anyways, y'all, those are our thoughts. Thank you all again for engaging with that. We'll continue to see where this conversation goes throughout the rest of this season. So let us know what you guys think about this episode and what you think about the season so far. I'd love to know what you guys think. All right, y'all. That's about it. We'll see you all next time. Peace.